last night, but then Jackson went down with an injury. I'm wondering how their potential absences on Thursday might impact game plans and just your approach to the game with the Badgers.
Those in-game injuries are always hard to gauge because a lot of times you think they're more severe than they are. Kids bounce back, but then when you haven't had a chance to watch, okay, who they're going to play in spite, what lineups are going to look like, how their lineups are going to look different. I think it's so early that it's hard to gauge is what I'm saying. So, Bronson's really a good guard, so certainly I think he would step in. And, how they go about, after that, I don't know. But Boza, unfortunately, for Wisconsin, having Frank out and then you have an in-game injury, those are things that are hard to account for. And, just your margin of error gets so slim, even when you're Wisconsin, the top 5 team, that, it doesn't take much to lose, especially on the road.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from the line of Amelia Reyna with the Minneapolis Star Tribune.
Good morning, Coach. I'm just curious, obviously, you guys are now healthy finally with Leslie Smith and Abraham back, and I'm just wondering how much you think that those two guys, bringing them back in, changes your team.
Well, I think, first of all, it just gives us a breath of fresh air. The first game that we played last weekend, Moses, they played 13 minutes each. And just our body language in practice after the Rutgers game, even after a win, was just completely different. We'd had other games that we'd won, and the guys just looked tired and gassed, and almost like there was no light at the end of the tunnel. And this one, was different because the guys were like, okay, we can do this. This is more like us. And then a little more physicality in the lane, better screens. They're our 2 best screeners. And, that matters, especially if you go to some of the screen and roll actions we do for Petaway and some of our guards. It really opens up driving lanes a little better, and their seals are a little stronger down low. So, and then, seeing Minnesota here in another week or 10 days with Mo Walker and Elliot Eliason, man, those 2 guys, we're going to need them. So it's a blessing to have them back, and I think the guys finally feel like we're a complete team.
And I just wanted to ask you too, great year by you guys last year, and obviously you surprised a lot of people, and that's come with some big expectations for this year as well. Do you think that sort of taking the next step is just as hard as sort of making that first one, or is that harder?
I think the first one's easier. That innocent climb is what I call it. I think Pat Riley called that the innocent climb in his book, The Winner Within, where everybody's kind of oblivious, just rocking and rolling, having a great time, winning, doing the whole thing, and then all of a sudden expectations come, and that's where, a lot of things probably, where I think the weight of expectations on a guy like Teran Petaway really, challenged him. But he's adjusted. I think he's played better basketball last night. I think he had 5 assists. He's had 8 assists in the game. Last year, I don't believe that ever happened. That his high was 3 or 4. And so I think he's becoming a better balanced player, a more well-rounded player, and understanding how to do things. And we've just had some tough games. How about this? We've led in the second half of every game we've played this year. We were that way, and we lost 6. So we got to figure that out. I know we can compete with anybody we play, but we got to close teams out.
Okay, Coach, thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Your next question comes from the line of Ron Hernandez with Wisconsin State Journal.
Tim, I know that Nick Fuller did see some action, in Iowa and I think Rutgers. I just wondering how you feel he's playing and what where his role is right now on the team.
Nick's in a position that I really like Nick as a person. He's gaining confidence every day. I think in practice you can see it in him. He's in a situation to me where it's a game of matchups. If I think there's somebody out there that he can do a good job guarding. He guarded Jared Utah for a long time in the Iowa game. Junior E2 in the Rutgers game. I didn't feel as good about our matchups against Illinois, so consequently didn't play. And so, as we go against Wisconsin, I don't think there's any crack or any doubt he'll get a crack at playing and have a chance to be on the floor. And we need him because every game he comes in, he's got a nose for the ball when it comes to rebounding, and he's got that innate ability to find a way to score. He's just one of those kind of cagey, savvy players that happens to be in the right place at the right time. He had a play at the end of the Rutgers shot clock where he was just in the first half where the shot clock violation is about to go, and somebody tips it to him, and he just tosses in right at the buzzer. That's a really big play for us. So I'm looking forward to Nick. He's got to improve just that. He's got to get quicker, and he's got to keep working on that defensive ability because that's kind of been a staple of our program. And we were able to hold Illinois at 43 points and 27% from the field. And so if you're going to make an error defensively, unfortunately, sometimes you don't get on the floor. And Nick's getting better and better every day, and we're happy to have him in the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your next question comes from Zach Osterman with the Indianapolis Star.
Hey, Coach. I guess I'm one of those working on larger stories, and sort of maybe bigger trend stories as well. And I'm talking more specifically about social media and the impact of social media on college athletes today. And it's sort of a two-part question, but I guess, number one, do you find that coaches, or do you think that coaches and programs should be and are doing more education on how to behave on social media, how to digest social media than ever before? And two, how often, I guess, do you find yourself maybe having to discipline or sit down and talk to players for what they're posting on Twitter or the way they're behaving on Facebook, that kind of thing, compared to maybe the way it was 3, 4, 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think we started the Twitter deal in 08 or 09. I don't even know when. So what are we looking at here? 6, 7 years?
Yeah, right around there.
Yeah, and I think in Nebraska we've done a tremendous job. We've had people in every year to talk to our guys on how to use social media, what it's important for. The rules we have for our team are different than that for at Coach Miles, that's for sure. I tell our guys, I don't want anybody to follow you that you don't know. Make your account private so not just everybody can follow you. Some guys like that. And at CSU, I think I had more issues than I have at Nebraska. We're well monitored at Nebraska, and I think that our people do a good job, and our guys do a good job. The one thing is, I think that they realized in a hurry, like for instance last year we had a kid that loved the post, and he'd interact with the fans, and all of a sudden he'd play bad for 2 games in a row, and then the troll would rear his ugly head, and he's like, I got to shut down Twitter, it's killing me. And it really affected his play. And I'm like, hey man, just understand, man, when things are good, they're going to be good, but when they're bad, you're going to get some bad news. I mean, you're going to get some that's life, some people are going to come out and say some rude things. And I think he was surprised by that, quite frankly, and so it was a good life lesson. And that's what I think, the way you post and what you put out there, it's a different world. They recorded Coach Pelini's, team meeting, last team meeting, players only meeting. Somebody recorded that, so it's very much a public. Anything you say, anything that it seems like it's it's out there for public consumption. Major news organizations like CNN are going to, when there's a real-time disaster, they're going to Facebook and Twitter to get first-hand accounts of what's going on, and it might not even be a real name. So, it's the way life is now, and so I think understanding how to post responsibly and that, you are, your word is what you stand for, you really have to pay attention to that and learn the hard way. That's why we have education, but we don't have a whole bunch of rules, and we don't eliminate it from our guys.
I guess just as a quick follow-up, do you find that you talked about that maybe social media is a little bit older now and everybody's a little bit more sort of just comfortable with it? Do you find that more players maybe have that awareness now of what's okay to post, what's not okay to post, how to digest certain things, just generally sort of how to behave or live in social media than they did 4 or 5 years ago?
Well, I look at my daughter, and she's 14. So think of it, if Twitter and Facebook have been around 8 to 10 years, as far as she knows her whole lifetime, that's just been the way to interact. So if you're 18, it's been that way since you were in 4th or 5th grade. And, it's almost, not maybe toward the end, but, I think Twitter and Facebook is really, in these generations of these college athletes or college students, that has been a way to connect with people the entire time. And so for them, it's just a way of life, even though it's not for you and me. I mean, for us, hell, I used to use a typewriter. I got a B in the computer, by the way. It kept me off the A honor roll. Yeah, we used to have whiteout. Remember that?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, thanks.
Coach, we appreciate that this morning. We will talk to you next week.